Introducing Oakley Meta Vanguard, the new performance AI glasses designed for athletes. With hands-free capture on an action-ready ultra-wide camera, powerful open-ear speakers, and built-in Meta AI that syncs with your Garmin devices for real-time insights while you train. Take your performance to the next level with Oakley Meta Vanguard. Athletic intelligence is here. Learn more on meta.com.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
In Walmart's Newville, everyone readied their cart. The early Black Friday deals are about to start. Online and in the app, such great deals to explore. Everything you love from tech, toys, and more. The days to save and the ones to remember are the 14th to the 16th of November. The Who's are all ready, but are you? Walmart Black Friday deals await. Who knew?
Welcome along to episode 3 of Mutchy and Denno. We're recording this straight after the Brighton and Hove Albion game, a 1-1 draw, plenty of incidents in the game, and we're at the Manders Centre. A big thank you to WCR-FM, who are kindly helping us out with studio space, and Steve, who's been a great help throughout this. We have Mutchy and Denno, who went to the game. How are you, fellas?
All good, Johnny.
All good, Johnny.
Excellent. Please get in touch with the show. We'd love to hear from you. We're on Instagram at Mutchy and Denno, and you can also email us, and the email address is mutchyanddenno@outlook.com. So tell us about your return to Molineux. Always good to go back to Molineux.
Do you want to start, Mutchy? I get back quite a few times. You don't.
Oh, brilliant. I haven't been back for a long time, to be honest, but it was just nice to turn up and see how the stadium's set up now, and all the supporters are there, and the car parks everywhere, cars all over the place, and the roads are closed off, and all the things that lead up to a big match, really, you know. And obviously Brighton have been a very good side for the last few years, and they had a big support, so it made for a good game. And it was just nice to see people outside the ground, and they come up to you and have a chat and say how you doing and what you're doing and all that type of stuff. So it's always great to come back to the Molineux. I'd like to come back more often, but circumstances are that you do what you do, you know.
Does it bring it all back when you walked? I know the ground has changed so much, but does it bring it back when you walk towards the place on a match day?
Well, it's football, isn't it? You know, it's basically the same thing. The lads turn up, you know, they be prepared for the game, and it's just exactly what we did. It was a great occasion today in many respects, although disappointing that we never got the result, really.
Dano, you were one of the guests of honour today, weren't you? Nice to be back. And
I wouldn't say guest of honour. Really.
What was your role at the match today?
I was in a bit on the corporate side with regards to going in and answering a few questions, and I think it does bring it back more because you're being asked about whenever you first joined the club, and what the circumstances were like then, and what the ground was like, and all that sort of stuff. And now you go into it on a match day now, and there's 30,000 there, and the atmosphere is fantastic. I think it's just it makes you proud to have been involved in those times, and I think anybody that was involved in those times should be proud about it. But it's definitely different to what we were used to when we first joined.
I saw two of your old teammates today as well. I saw Andy Thompson in the press room.
Has he grown any?
And Tim Steele.
There's
a blast from the past. Yeah. He was there as well.
Yeah, I spoke to Dave Instone, who used to do the Express and Star, all the reports and all that. He was a bit like Columbo, always asking questions and that type of stuff. And he even said today, "Where are you doing your podcast today?" He said, you know. But he said he'd got Tim as a guest, you know. Oh, Christ, I haven't seen him for years. But unfortunately, we were in different stands, so I didn't get to see him. But it's nice that, you know, they're inviting all different players to come back for different reasons. Tim was not a bad lad. We used to open the gate for him, right, when he used to run down the wing because his head was down, and that's the way he went, you know what I mean?
He was fast and straight, wasn't he?
And Tomo's he does stuff for the radio and that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
So he's like fixture and fitting there, and he's always there. But, you know, as you say, it's nice to see old players. And nice for me and Robbie, when we were watching the game today, there's a few supporters who recognise you and want to come and chat to you.
Some of the older ones, yeah.
They were definitely old, yeah. So that's a really nice, that was a nice part of it. But it's just always good to come back. It feels like home, doesn't it?
It does, and it was nice for you to. We had a quick pint before we've recorded this in town, and one of the fans came out and says, "Can I have my photo with the Sherpa Van Trophy legends?" What more can you ask for than that, Denno?
Well, do you know what? I say anybody over 40 years of age has got a chance of recognising us. Under 40, you've got absolutely no chance. Because you do come down and you see the younger lads and people are coming up and saying hello to us, and the younger lads are going, who's that? Do you know what I mean? But I think whenever you go back and obviously see different people that you've seen for years and years and years, even over the last 30 odd years or 40 years, it's always nice to see that. And they always have a warm welcome for you, and to see the players, the ex-players. We don't get enough together really with regards to the ex-lads. We saw Don today. Don Goodman.
That's right, yeah, he was working
Tom
with me.
Naylor was there as well. So you see the boys hovering around the club a little bit. So you don't really get enough time to get back together and have a proper hello, really. But whenever you do see them, it's like it was yesterday. It is really, Tomo, it's like it was yesterday, and it's great to have that bond still with the people that you played with all those years ago.
Absolutely. Now, this podcast is not really going to focus too much on the current Wolves team in terms of analysis. We'll chat about it, obviously, as we carry on doing the programmes and the pods. But because we were all at the game today, I was working, Mutchy was watching, and you were doing a bit of work too, Denno. We'll do a deep dive into the Brighton match and what we thought of it, because it was an incident-packed game. A lot was happening for quite a time. It looked as if Wolves would get that win they desperately needed before the international break. But then it all went pear-shaped towards the end. And in the end, a massive disappointment in terms of the supporters coming away from that one today, not having a win, and the way that Wolves finished the game. So let's have a bit of an assessment of it. What did you make of it, Mutchy? What was your thoughts?
Well, I think, both sides were very well organised. Obviously, Brighton have been playing particularly well for the last few seasons, I suppose. They've built a bit of a reputation up. Wolves worked really hard today, and all the players would be disappointed that they didn't get the result they were looking for. But I suppose, without being too negative, near the end, they're desperate to win a game of football. They haven't won for a while. They got nicked at Tottenham at the end of the game. So they're all getting behind the ball and they're trying to keep it tight so to get the victory. And you can't blame that. But unfortunately, it became the downfall because Brighton started to get more on top and they were getting in wide areas and putting good balls in. And it's certainly a disappointment for all the players because they did put everything into it, and they're trying their utmost to try and turn that corner. There's been a lot of players that have been brought into the club and they're trying to blend together. They did look disjointed at times, you have to be honest with that, but at the same time you couldn't deny the commitment that the players put in, although as they're trying to hang on to the results, as time was going on, they're going deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's where your worry comes. And I mean, both Robbie and myself weren't surprised when they equalised. We were more worried whether Brighton had gone on and actually win the game then, because they'd got momentum. But overall, I don't even think the supporters were too disappointed, because when we left the ground, we were talking to a few of them. Obviously said that we'd gone a little bit negative with centre-halves, but they were also understanding of the fact that, I think it's not since April we've won a game because of the start of the Premier League this season. So, you can understand why. But you do hope that as they start to gel, they'll start to be a little bit more positive and get on the front foot, because I suppose a lot of the second half was played in Wolves' half, which suggested that they were a bit nervous.
They were a bit nervous. They were conceding a hell of a lot of crosses, and they were, I spoke to Fabian Hertzler after the match, the Brighton manager, and he said that the low block got lower, and they were really up against it. We've had so much feedback on Twitter already. I'll just read a couple of the comments we've had. Christian Bastable said we would have won had it not been for those substitutions. Jace says his substitutions were irresponsible. It's cost us in the last two games. Ross has said the manager should have had a red card for his tactics, not kicking the ball away. Tom McGillen's been in touch. He said it's worrying that the tactics went as they were. Denno, I mean, it's hard because I thought there was so much to be positive about in the first maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And I thought Vitor Pereira had set the side up right. But then towards the end of the game, it was almost as if we could all see what was going to happen.
I said to Mutchy with about half an hour to go, I said, Mutchy, he started to make a few substitutions. I said, Mutchy, it's a bit long to be trying to hold out to win a game of football. and that was how I was sensing things and how things were going. Because at some point, yes, you can defend. You can go to a 5, you can do a 3, or whatever you want to do, back 4, whatever you want to do. But at some point, you have to be able to get up the pitch. Now, as the game went on, we were getting less and less people who were able to get the ball up the pitch. Arias didn't really get much supply second half, so he wasn't able to get on the ball and take us up the pitch. So, and Larson hardly touched the ball second half. He had a couple of runs second half. Hardly really touched the ball to get us up the pitch. So at some point you have to, yes, defend, yeah, and I understand that, and you're anxious to get a win, but at some point you have to be positive enough for people to step in and move you up the pitch, because at this level, if you let people come at you, get crosses into your box, they're going to cause you problems, and that's where the problems all stem from. Not switching on from whenever the ball went out for the corner. Team didn't switch on. They thought it was out in the first place, so everybody was looking at the ref. All of a sudden, Brighton switched on. You can see the goal. So for me, it was a little bit negative. Second half, a half an hour to go. For me, it was negative. Now he'll obviously have his reasons why he's made the changes. If you go to 3, then your fullbacks have to push on a little bit more from the positive side, but that didn't happen, and they went to a 5 really. With half an hour to go. So for me, you're just asking for trouble then, and that's how it panned out. Stop the crosses at source, because there was too many crosses going into the box. I think Johnson made an absolutely fantastic save just down in front of us.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
With 20 minutes to go, or whatever it was.
Yeah,
that was absolutely fantastic. But that's from crosses again. Crosses going into the box. Eventually, they've got a decent size of a team, Brighton. So eventually someone's going to get on and cause you problems, and that's what ended up happening. I can understand the anxiety of trying to win a game of football, but at some point you have to be positive in your line of thinking as well, and I thought we liked that maybe the last half an hour of the game.
And a bit naive maybe as well when you've got a Brighton team with Lewis Dunk and John Paul Van Hecke in it, who are huge players who are really, really good in the air, to be happy to concede the amount of set pieces they did as well. It just seemed, it was really frustrating. The goal itself, I thought, had an element of Sunday League. I'm not sure if Jackson Chichua needed to touch it to take it out of play in the first place, whether or not the ball was already out. And then he was just too slow.
It looked like it had, but he knocked off, didn't he?
Yeah,
completely.
And then
he turned his back on play,
and
they took the corner. And then, But the ironic thing was what Robbie was saying about getting on the front foot a bit and showing a bit more positivity. When they actually scored, it was really the first time that Wolves actually got on the front foot, and they closed down from the front, and they actually caused them a little bit of grief for,
after the equaliser.
After the equaliser, for a couple of phases. And you looked at it and you thought to yourself, well, Wolves are getting narrow as a team all the time. Brighton are spreading themselves. So when they're getting possession, there's lots of gaps that open up and they're passing the ball. And it goes with confidence and belief. Even the manager, if he looks hard at himself, he'll say, I did go negative, and I put that information across to the players, because I've never seen so many centre-halves on the pitch, mate. When he was making the substitutions, I was saying, where does he play, Rob? And he's going, he's a centre-half as well, and he's a centre-half. And I was going, oh my God, how many have we got here? That negativity comes in because you're not winning games of football. And when they concede, it's like anything. I said to Robbie, what they've got to say to the players is play every game as if there's 5 minutes to go in the cup final and you're 1-0 down. Get that tempo going, get that thrust going. There wasn't enough physicality from the Wolves players. That Larson, right, he's going up with Dunk, and he should be letting him know he's there. I'm not saying be, ruthless, but you've got to really have that. And for me, a lot of the players are frightened to make mistakes.
I think the Larson point's a good one. I like so much of what Strand Larson does, but I think he lacks nastiness a little bit.
A lot of the team do. They sort of sit off. They like to play the football. They turn out a lot and go backwards, because that's where the time and space is, I suppose. The minute you're going into the traffic, you might lose possession. And unfortunately, quite a lot of the players, although they're trying really hard, that you can just see they're frightened to give the ball away, and it's their responsibility that something's gone wrong and they've conceded a goal. And I suppose that's what happens when you're not getting the 3 points. They nearly crossed the line at Tottenham, and that would have been a real big fillip for them, right? And then they've done it again. So you're looking at it two ways. You can worry about losing games, or you can say, well, do you know what? We've taken two teams to task there who are reasonably decent, Brighton and Tottenham, and let's that take into the next game. Like Robbie said, they've got to be more positive, because the second half, like I said before, was all played in Wolves' half. And what they've got to do, they've got to mix it up a bit. They've got to say, right, knock it in behind so we can get up and all that type of stuff. But, this is opinion and football and tactics, innit? The real end of the day is the disappointment of the players, the management, the club itself and the fans when they're going away. You've had a good go against the team, but really you got frightened of them at the end and consequently didn't win the game. And that's all they want, innit? They want to win games of football.
I know.
But sorry, the one thing, Johnny, but they had one chance in the second half. Arias, when he put it over the bar.
Big chance.
And when it was 1-0.
And Stan Larson hitting the post at 1-0.
And Stan Larson as well. So those are two chances which can change the game. Well, they would win the game then. If they go 3-0 up, they win the game of football. So there's those little bits that you can actually look at and say, that's a positive thing. Whenever we did get out, we actually created a couple of chances, yes. But there was too much of actually backtracking and going back to your own box for that to be a positive. But if they score then, the game's over then. So there was little bits that you could say, yes, that's okay. But there's so much to improve on. I'm sure the manager looks at it as well. He'll assess it all during the week and stuff, and he'll see a lot to improve on as well.
I'm a glass half full person as a rule, and there was lots of things I was really looking forward to talking about. Had it stayed at 1-0, thinking this could be a great way going into the international break, and obviously it sort of knocked the stuffing out of us a bit that it was 1-1. But in terms of the new players who were on the pitch and started the match, there was John Arias, the 10 who played out wide. There was Ladislav Krejci, the Czech centre-half, and there was Jackson Chichua, the right-back. I mean, let's deal with them one at a time. How do you feel they played, Denno? Pick one and have a chat.
Arias, from a wide point of view, found it hard to understand exactly where he was playing, John, whether he was going to play in the wide area or play inside and float around a little bit. I thought first half he floated around a little bit, got on the ball and he looked okay. But then you lose your shape a little bit because he's coming inside and all that sort of stuff. But whenever he gets on the ball, it's like the second half didn't get him on the ball enough to get us out of our half into their half and be an attacking threat. But whenever he got on the ball, he looked sharp. He looks sharper now than what he did 2 or 3 weeks ago. So hopefully he's looking as if he's getting up to speed again. So I think he'll definitely be a threat. Whenever he gets up to speed and fully up to speed, I think he'll be a decent player for Wolves.
Yeah, I really like the look of him, Mutchy, because in that first half, I thought, he definitely arrived as a Premier League player. But then, as Denno says, as the second half wore on, he'd almost looked lost. And I don't know whether that was because he was tired, because you couldn't get up the pitch to involve him enough. But it was almost like two different halves. But there's definitely, in my opinion, it's definitely a player there. I don't know what you see. I mean, it was a sort of position that wasn't really played in your day, was it? That sort of.
It was one of the better players on the day for Wolves in my eyes, like Robbie was alluding to. Unfortunately, as the game went on, he come more inside than inside. And when he comes inside the game, he's basically becoming a sort of a defender in a way, where he's just blocking gaps and all that. And that's
so you preferred him out wide.
But when he was sort of more wide, he was positive and he worked very hard. And he did try and go the right way, because a lot of players nowadays, they get the ball and they just check back on themselves and they're going back towards their own goal quite often. But he was well committed. But I was very impressed with the centre-half.
Ladislav Krejci.
Krejci, excellent. And he went into midfield right near the end, didn't he? Because Robbie said he can play in midfield, because I didn't know that. And I said, well, what a performance he had. He made some brilliant tackles. His heading was good. His range of pass was very good. His attitude was tremendous. You see sometimes when he made a tackle, he was trying to get the crowd going, because you can tell straight away he wants to be a winner. And I thought he was an absolutely excellent. I don't know where he came from, but what would you say? He was Slovakian, did you say? Or
he's Czech, yeah.
He's Czech.
He's Czech. I think he's been an exceptional signing. He won the Player of the Match. Don Goodman gave him the Player of the Match on commentary. So we had to do an interview with him post-match, and I had to give him the Player of the Match trophy, and he was absolutely distraught. He didn't want it, which is, I think, it's a really good sign.
Very good.
Do you speak Czech then, Johnny? That's
Fortunately,
fantastic, mate. That's fantastic.
Fortunately, Ladislav speaks very good in this. We've got him on loan with obviously a permanent deal coming from Girona. That's where he came from. But he's a fully fledged Czech international. He's got 20 caps. But he was he was absolutely devastated when he came in, and he'd left everything out on the pitch. And when I gave him the Player of the Match trophy at the end, he just looked at it as, what do I want with this? And I just thought that was such a good attitude. And like Mutchy says, the way he's slotted into that defensive position, he's great on the ball, but he has the tackling and the heading, the defensive qualities.
Yeah.
But he's so calm and assured on the ball.
But certain players come into a side from a different country and stuff like that, and they fit in right away. And he's done exactly that. And you kind of expect if you sign 6 players, maybe a couple will do that, and 2 will take a long time, and 3, whatever. But he's actually fitted into the side really well. Centre half, fantastic. But centre midfield, whenever he scored against Leeds, first goal against Leeds as well, he looked amazing in there as well. So I said how much he can play centre midfield. I think he might be one of our better centre midfielders. And Mutchy says he's the best player in every position, because that's how he looks. He looks really comfortable wherever he's going to play for the side.
He's intelligent, isn't he?
Yeah. But obviously cares about it as well, which the all should do, really, you know what I mean? So obviously cares about it. And as much as he says, range of passing as well is fantastic. So really calm on the ball. So Wolves look as if they've got a real player there.
Without doubt, man of the match, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Without doubt.
For Wolves he was, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I absolutely concur with that. What about Jackson Chichua, who came in for Matt Doherty? Doherty was at the ground today. He's recovering from a wrist operation. He should be fine after the international break. But what about Jackson Chichua, Cameroon international, bags of pace?
Bags of pace, but did you see it today, Johnny? You
No,
know what I mean? Honestly,
no.
I said to Mutchy a couple of times, right? He's so much space to run into a few times. And he turned and went back and passed across to Andre. He passed across the centre halves, and I think at certain times like that, I like my wide players, because I was a wide player for a long time, right? So I like people just to be positive. I always think that whether you're fullback, wing back, or a winger, if you've got 10 yards of space to run into, you take that 10 yards of space, right? And I thought with the pace that he had today, on various occasions, maybe 5, 6, 7 times during the game, he had enough space to run into, show his pace, and then go and attack the left back or the left side of midfield. Hopefully that'll come with confidence and the team winning and all that scenario. But defensively, I thought he was solid until obviously we talked about the goal earlier on, where he probably didn't get a shout to leave the ball, really. And if you're not speaking the language, and that's not being nasty about it, but if you don't understand the language and maybe someone says to leave it and you don't understand it, then he deals with it and it hits his leg and goes out for a corner. So that's when the problem started. And then not reacting to the corner. So you could obviously point your finger at him with regards to how the goal came about. But I think there's a lot more to come. If he's going to show the pace that everybody's talking about, I think there's a lot more to come from him.
I think being a new lad, he's probably maybe frightened to express himself. When you look at the Premier League the way it is today, you see your fullbacks going beyond your midfield. You never saw Bueno at left back getting beyond the midfield ever. And obviously you didn't see Jackson getting ahead of the midfield. And like Robbie said, he had a number of occasions where there was plenty of grass in front of him. And Robbie said to me, he's got pace, this fella, apparently, you know what I mean? And I'm going, okay, I'm waiting to see. That's not a criticism to him, don't get me wrong, because he probably has got pace, but he's not expressed himself enough. But I think that's probably part of the settling in process. On the other hand, you could say, well, your intelligence should tell you when the opportunity is to go and move forward and make hay, or it's not the right time to make that run. The 2 results they've had, which are obviously both being draws, which they've been leading till near the end, that's got to be a positive sign. The players, for me, do look unsure of themselves as individuals, so they're just battling to try and get their own performance right.
And I think having Andre back in the side, because he was left out earlier on in the season, I think Andre gives it a lot more security in the middle, maybe. I don't know what you think of him as a player. Again, not the sort of player you would have played with, really, was he?
No, do you know what? I like him as a player. I like him the way he keeps the ball. I like him that the tempo that he actually passes the ball at, because I thought against Leeds they were really poor with regards to tempo. I thought Leeds just had more energy than them. And never really got started. Obviously Andre didn't start in that game, but I do think that whenever he does get on the ball and passes it at the right tempo, then Wolves do look a better side. Energy wise, to be quite truthful today, I didn't think it was one of his better games. I thought he's always trying to nick the ball and get on the ball and keep the ball, but he's been more involved in all the games that I've seen, so it wasn't for me one of his better games today. For me, yeah, he should be starting in the side. You know, whether he's going to play 3 in there or 2 in there. I thought Molineux was a decent player today, especially in the first half.
I think he had one of his best games.
Well, do you know what? Obviously he gets a bit of criticism because he's not one of the stars or whatever, but energy-wise, I think if you're looking at someone who sets a tempo energy-wise, I think Molineux does that for the side, you know. So I thought he did reasonably well in midfield. But, you know, Andre, for me, should be starting games, but today was one of his quieter ones, really.
Mutchy, we've had a question from Rob Cooper on Twitter who asks, what does Pereira see in Hwang to keep starting him?
Nice easy one, Mutchy.
Very easy question to start with, that wasn't it? Yeah. Well, he's mobile, isn't he? It's like anything. You know, if he plays wide left and he stays wide, he's probably going to get the ball a little bit more. But he's also guilty of coming inside the game. And suddenly when people get the ball, they can't find him. It seems to me as if he hit the ground running when he came, and he lacks tons of confidence now. And you could arguably say what the chap's saying there is he's probably right, because he didn't really produce a lot today, and they ended up bringing him off, you know. It's difficult because you don't want to sit here and just criticise players, because it's dead simple. It's easy sitting in the stands and it going, he should be doing this, that and the other, and we've all had that, you know, and he probably wants to do his best, but he looks a bit out of sorts at the moment, I must say.
Does the head coach have to cop for it a bit then, for what happened today? Was that a game that could have been managed better?
Well, do you know, I think the head coach, if you ask him why he made the changes, then you might understand it a little bit more. But with regards to dropping back and letting Brighton come on to, because at one point Mutchy says to me, the centre half's first he playing centre forward for Brighton, the blonde lad, because he kept coming forward and stepping in. He ended up getting the goal then as well. So that's what you're up against. And if you let teams do that to you at Premiership level, they will hurt you at some point. You might hang on the odd occasion, but most times they will hurt you. So you'd like to know why he made the changes and what the scenario was with going 3 at the back and all that sort of stuff before you can actually make an assessment and a call on whether he got it wrong.
And the thing is, Pereira couldn't answer any questions because he was sent off. And once you're sent off, the new Premier League regulations are that you can't do any post-match interviews.
Oh, is that right?
That's right.
Right.
So his assistant, Luis Miguel, came out to speak on his behalf.
Yeah.
And he said that Pereira really wanted to apologise for what he did. There's something slightly amusing about this. So what happened was, it was João Gomez. I think he was being marked by Belieber. I'm not sure. But he should have had a free kick. And he was slightly tugged by Belieber. And he didn't get a free kick. Referee Jared Gillett didn't give him one. And Pereira was fuming. He turned round and one of the balls was on a little cone, and it was properly teed up. He turned round and he whacked it.
Couldn't refuse it.
Whacked it. No, he couldn't refuse it. No more than 5 yards. Straight into the Sky Sports floor manager, little Tony Murtagh, who's the loveliest fella you'll meet. Really mild-mannered Irishman. And he whacked it straight into him. Tony put his hand up. It deflected off his hand. It gave his wrist a proper clout. But there's a story here, because you know Tony, don't you, Denno?
Tony Murtagh was playing for Glenavon when I was at Glenavon when we were 18, 19. And actually, Tony went to Arsenal for a little bit.
That's right, yeah.
When he was 18,
Arsenal
19, 20, I think.
Yeah.
And then came back to Glenavon. So I've known him since that time. Didn't bump into him for years and years and years, and then bumped into him doing the Sky stuff about maybe 10, 15 years ago. So it's quite funny. It's quite nice to know that. Well, but I'm going to get on to him, because getting Victor Pereira sent off for that is absolutely outrageous, isn't it? So I'm obviously going to give him a bit of abuse for that. But he is a great lad, actually.
Tony's brilliant.
What position did he play?
I think Tony played right side midfield.
Well, he definitely wasn't a goalkeeper, was he?
No, he was hiding behind his hands. Well, if you've seen Tony, he wasn't a centre half either, because he's quite a slim lad. He's about 6 stone ringing wet, isn't he? So,
he said as soon as Pereira did it, Pereira went over, apologised to him and gave him a hug.
Yeah.
And then he said after Pereira was sent off, he came back in the dugout, gave him another hug and said, I'm really sorry. And Pereira was really apologetic. Tony didn't think there was any malice in it. It was just frustration. So it's a bit of a shame.
Do you think that's a sending off, really?
I know.
It was a bit quick for the referee.
A bit of frustration.
You know what I mean? Red card.
I was disappointed.
How long has the game been going?
It's been going on quite a while, but not
15,
that long.
20 minutes.
But me and Robbie both said he must have said something terrible there, to be actually red carded, straight red card. So, because we obviously didn't see him kick it into the fella. So
I think it's a petty thing, really.
I thought it was. He was quick with his cards, wasn't he, the ref today?
I thought he was very quick with his cards. He didn't really have full control of the game.
I didn't think so. And once you start giving cards for anything, I think he probably booked about 6 people or 8 people in the game. I think 2 of those cards were okay. The rest of them were just petty stuff. I thought he was very harsh on what he was handing out. And then when you start that, then it's very hard to backtrack then, isn't it? So
definitely. It's really interesting. Obviously, there was a few boos at full time today, but there was a lot of applause for the players and management when they went over to the South Bank end to thank the fans at the end. The reaction on social media and the forums is always so very different to the reaction you get inside the stadium and that you get when you speak to supporters, I find, as well, face to face. Because looking at Twitter now, and X as it's called, everyone's pointing the finger at Pereira. A lot of frustration at what he's done, at his tactics, at his strategy, everything else. I don't know, it surprised me a little bit, but then I'm not at every game, but I do follow closely what the management do. Do you think he should be copying it? I think to some degree, when he turned around to his bench, he didn't have the quality on his bench that he should have, and I think there was a lot of frustration from the supporters in the summer about the transfer window, that business was done late and it wasn't good enough. And I think you can probably look at the recruitment department, and obviously you look at the ownership and what they were prepared to invest. I thought the new signings today looked as if they could be good Premier League players, particularly Krejci. But I do think we looked short of options, and I do think I'd be more inclined to focus away from Pereira, and it's not his fault. He was perhaps left short.
I don't think it's about faults, really, Johnny. You know what I mean? I don't think it's about faults with regards to, performance on the pitch today, because the players couldn't give any more, I don't think.
Okay.
The players were definitely into putting on as good a performance as they could, and the energy, for me, compared to the Leeds game, the energy was a lot better today than what it was. As much as you said, a bit disjointed. But once again, I would ask the head coach, or whatever his title is now, what were the decisions with regards to the subs? And then whenever you get those answers, then you've got a better idea about what his ideas on the thing was. But there's always going to be frustration. If you don't get results, what are the 6-7 games into the season now? You haven't won a game. Who's going to get the finger pointed at? It's going to be the coach or the manager. And that's what's happening at the minute. And yes, we can all see faults in different things, but until you start winning games of football, I think that negativity towards that is always going to happen, and it's understandable. It is understandable. So you need to get a couple of wins as soon as possible to change that atmosphere in the whole place.
It's so frustrating, isn't it? Because we'd be, if they had hung on, we'd have been going into this international break with so much more optimism and so much more of a positive outlook. But it feels as if they could be stewing on this. The fans will be stewing on it.
The fans will be, no doubt. The players are trying hard for the manager.
I think they are.
Now, if that's going on, you've not got as big a worry. It's when the players are going out and you can see they're not trying a leg to want to play for the badge or play for the club, and most importantly, play for the manager, because really the manager's relationship with the players has to be very good. And people have different ways of doing it, different skills, this, that, and the other. He will make decisions on what he sees on the day, because it was a decision on what he saw in the game. He thought, we need more strength at the back. I think it was the wrong decision, but that doesn't make him a bad manager. It's just a decision he's made for that particular game. But while the players are committing themselves like they've done away at Tottenham, and obviously they've done today against, as I said before, 2 reasonable sides, you've got to say, well, you've got to hold your breath a little bit here, understanding that nearly every supporter who supports Wolves wants them to win, and when they're not winning, they're disappointed. And then there'll be a theme, won't there? And the theme is that, the substitutions weren't right, and that's the reason we didn't end up winning the game and we conceded near the end.
One of the other things, John, as well, was it happened down in front of us whenever Agbadou come on. He was actually pointing over to the coach, and he was going, is Bueno going to, or no, Bueno was taken off, how was the back three going to be set up?
The organisation,
right? The organisation of it. And I'd said to Mutchy, he's just come on, he should know, and he should be telling people you're there. But he was actually waving over to the coach and going, is he playing? And that was a bit concerning, really, because it was it looked to be a bit off the cuff a little bit, you know what I mean? So And I know the manager's in the stand at that point, so maybe the communication side of things wasn't great. But that for me was a little bit concerning. So everybody needs to get on board and really get together. And as I say, the effort was there, but a little bit disjointed, especially the last half an hour of the game, I thought.
We're going to leave it there for the current Wolves team. Just walking away from Molineux today. Just nice to be back. And when are you next going back?
Do you know what? Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Want to see as many games as I can. You feel the disappointment of the fans whenever you're walking out, because we were getting little bits of what we've just talked about why do you make the subs, why do you do this, why do you do that. So it is disappointment because you're a fan at the end of the day. You know, you've grown up, you've played for them and stuff like that, but you're still a fan, you want to see the team winning. So disappointment, but it's still a great place to go and watch football.
Yeah, I enjoyed the day very much. I mean, as everyone knows, I've not been at a game for quite a while. Obviously I live a bit away and all the rest of it, but I really enjoyed the game and I'm looking forward to coming back soon.
Yeah, I loved going today. It's funny, working in the industry, you don't really get, as a fan, I used to, get big highs and big lows depending on results. And since I've worked in the industry, I still get the highs, but I don't get the lows really. You probably become a bit more cynical about everything. But I was really frustrated today. I just thought there was loads of signs that Wolves were turning the corner in that opening 45, 50, 60 minutes, whatever. But then by the end, I was thinking, oh, there's so much work still to be done. So we'll see. We'll see what happens after the international break, and we'll see if Wolves can finally get that win. We're going to wrap up there. Do get in touch with the show. We're at Mutchy and Denno on Instagram. And to email us, it's mutchyanddenno@outlook.com. A big thanks, as ever, to WCR FM, based at Manda House, for their support. And we'll see you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.